What is going on, everyone? I'm Weston, and welcome to Can You Beat Fallout 4 as the Dragonborn? There's my look, then name myself Dragonborn. Here's a quick look at my special stats. I tried to primarily focus on strength, endurance, and charisma because I think the Dragonborn would be universally liked in the Elder Scrolls universe. Strength for obvious reasons. He's going to be a melee build. Endurance, going to be a bit tanky. Didn't really care about anything else. So yeah, the bombs drop. We work our way to the vault, run up, and we wait on our loving wife Nora to come speeding past us here in just a second. And here she is. She was speed running there. Then the bombs fall. Great big wind wipes us all away. No, somehow we survive. Um, Kellogg comes in, kills Nora, takes little baby Sean, and now once, hang on, is Nora? There she is. I was gonna say. And now I escape the vault. I do not kill any rad roaches. I trap them all by shutting the door behind me because rad roaches cannot open the door. Grab the Pip-Boy, and we are out. I immediately work my way to Hubris Comics because that is the location of our Dragonborn equipment. And it was difficult. The feral ghouls in here were horrible, especially since, I can't fight back, have no stim packs or anything because I ran straight here. I died a lot. That was a loading screen right before that one. I immediately spawned in and died. But finally, through sheer perseverance, I was able to get what I needed from Hubris. And it told me to go to the roof across the street, which is full of raiders. So I died there. Can't land on the light pole, die again. But finally, I find what I need, the Furious Steel Sword and the Fortifying Iron Helmet. And I go back to Hubris Comics to get the final part of our look after I fight through the feral ghouls in there, of course. And that will be Grognak's costume. And then I'm going to spend way too long equipping it and trying to figure out what buttons get me into third person, and then to where I can look at myself front on. But yeah, this is pretty much going to be the challenge of the video. I can only use this armor and weapon setup. Stim packs I can use, any other healing. But yeah, there's the look. I go back to Sanctuary to now start the game. Talk to Codsworth. He points me in the direction of Concord. Go through the Museum of History. Take out all the raiders in there. Let's see. I think there's one more. Nope. Yep, right there. I think two more before we get to where I talk to Preston here in just a moment. Yep, this is the last one. Take him out. I wish there were cooler animations like in Skyrim, but we talk to Preston. Then I hop in the power armor only to survive the fall, immediately get out of it. And then I run at these raiders and Gristle like a madman. Dodging a little bit of cover, take out the raiders. This sword is so OP. This is going to be probably way easier than I thought it was going to be, especially considering the beginning. The Deathclaw glitched in the tunnel, so I just kind of cheesed him. And then I talk to Preston again. He points me in the direction of the illustrious Diamond City. So I make my way into the Diamond City. It does this really weird animation whenever I talk to the mayor. McDonough there. I don't know why it's doing all this fancy camera work. But then I do the interview with Piper. Tell her that I've lost my son. She says, "Oh, boo-hoo, that's so sad. I'm so sad for you." She points me in the direction of Nick Valentine's detective agency to help find him. Well, I go into the agency, and his assistant, Ellie here, loading screen, Ellie here, she informs me that Nick was out investigating something and has been kidnapped. So we travel to, well, actually, first I get Percy out of all his stim packs. Then I try to take on Swan in his pond, realize that's a horrible idea. And then I make my way into the Park Street Station, open up Vault 114 after working my way through the Triggermen, which was not too difficult. Most of them die in one swing of this sword. It's pretty insane. But then I noticed Dino hasn't seen me, so I just completely sprint right at him like out of a movie. Take Dino out. He can barely react. That's one of the things about this playthrough, though, is you get stunned like a mother. But yeah, talk to Nick. He's going to help me get out of the vault here. But then we run into Skinny Malone. I tried to take, just immediately kill him at first, and that does not go well for me. Tried the diplomatic approach, the persuasion attempt failed, but this time we were able to kind of get to some cover, stim pack up, and then finally take out Skinny Malone. Did a bunch of damage on that first hit there. And then we get out of the vault. I talked to Nick Valentine here, tell him what the sitch is, and we are going to meet each other back at Diamond City.
I'll meet you there.
So I meet Nick back in Diamond City and explain to him everything with Sean and how I believe that a man named Kellogg took Sean away from me in the vault. Nick then explains to me that there's a man named Kellogg that has a house in the city that he hasn't been to for a while. So we travel to his house, try to pick his lock, but it's a master lock and neither one of us can do it. So I go rizz up Mayor McDonough here, explain to him how bad of a man Kellogg is, and he forks his key right up to me. Once we're in the house, I find his secret little button to open up his secret little room, right there behind old Nicky boy. Nick then, using his expert detective skills, explains to me that Kellogg has an affinity for a certain type of cigar. Nick then hollers for a friend that will help us track down Kellogg. And it's fucking dog meat! Let's go! Our little canine companion. We follow him all the way through. No, not really much to note. Just a stunted Yaogwai that is no match for the Dragonborn himself, as he takes him out whenever he doesn't get blocked like that. And then he leads us to Fort Hagen. The turrets on the roof kind of tear up my health and my stim packs, so I have to go back to Diamond City to old Myrna here and buy up some stim packs with what few caps I have left. Once I arrive back to the fort in a rad storm, which is great. The scents on the first few levels of the fort aren't really that much of a problem. But once I get to the lower levels, that's when they become an issue. Because not having any ranged weapons is rough. But we make it through, talk to Kellogg. He explains to me that he did take Sean, and that the Institute are the ones that have him. So naturally, he doesn't give up easily. We take him out and all his synth friends that are in here. Then we take his brain and everything that he owns. And then whenever we go to leave the fort, we run into the Brotherhood of Steel and their giant blimp, the Pridwin. And you see the vertibirds flying around. This is the faction that we will be siding with to complete the main quest. But once back in Diamond City, talk to Piper and to Nick. Explain to them that Kellogg was working for the Institute, and that the Institute now has Sean. I also tell them that I have Kellogg's cybernetic brain implant thing, so they send us to Good Neighbor. But on the way, I make a wrong turn at the Mass Fusion building and run into some gunners, and I'm thinking, since they don't notice me, that I can stim pack up real quick and take all of them out with my superior sword skills. And that turned out to be a big fat lie, because they chew through me. But the next life, I make the correct turn, end up in Good Neighbor, meet the lovely Mayor Hancock as he interacts with one of his citizens. And then we make our way to Dr. Amari in the memory den. I hand her Kellogg's brain, and me and Nick go for a seat to travel through his memories. We do the same spiel that everyone goes through, the most boring part of the game, I think. But we go through his memories. There's baby Sean in his memories, which, toddler Sean, I guess. But then, while we're in his memories, we figure out that they use teleportation to get to and from the Institute. That's why no one can find the entrance. I then travel to the Boston airport to try and join the Brotherhood of Steel, and they direct me to Paladin Dance at the Cambridge police station. I meet up with him, take out the ferals, and then he recruits me for a very special mission to the ArcJet Solutions, I think. But on the way there, we don't really encounter much, just some mongrels, bloatflies, and a few raiders. I think they're all scripted events, honestly, so just the usual. Nothing crazy. We fight through ArcJet. I almost kill Paladin Dance with this rocket, which I do every single time. I don't know if there's a way to avoid it. There might be. But then we work our way to the top, take out all the synths at the very top, grab the deep range transmitter, and then we get the fudge out of there. Paladin Dance gives me the righteous authority, and I then join the Brotherhood of Steel officially. I then return to the Cambridge police station, where Hanlon is very welcoming, and Reese is not. He's kind of a douche. But then I get in the vertibird with Dance, and we get a lovely view of the Commonwealth as we make our way to the Pridwin. Once we get up on the Pridwin, I talk to Elder Maxon, and he says that he has a mission for me at Fort Strong. I go meet the rest of the crew, meet him on the back of the Pridwin, and then we hop in the Vertibird to go to Strong. Now, we circled around the fort several times, and it would not land, so I had to shoot the behemoth with a minigun because it wouldn't land until it was dead. If that invalidates the run, you can take your opinion and shove it right up your ass. Next, we enter fort, or actually we land, and then I go to third person because it just looks cool, just running and jumping at these super mutants. Fucking, it's might been the most fun I've had in this playthrough so far was just doing this, being a jackass, and completely whiffing that fucking swing. But it was really fun. And then once we enter into the actual fort, I have a bathroom orgy with several super mutants, and it almost does not end well with me with that legendary butcher. But I am able to take them out and make my way down to the basement, where it does not end well for me at all this time. But on the next play, or on the next way through, Paladin Dance was able to take him out for me, so that is always a plus. I talked to Dance. He directs me to go back to the Pridwin and talk to Elder Maxon. And once I talk to Maxon, he tells me that we need to find a way to get into the Institute, and that if I know a way, I need to report it to him directly. So then I go through the Glowing Sea, talk to Children of Adam, but they have more on their plate right now. But after that Rad Scorpion's dead, I'm able to talk to, not Myrna, but she points me in the direction of Virgil, who then tells me that he can tell me how to get into the Institute in exchange for getting something for him from the Institute. So we go to CIT Ruins and then Green Tech Genetics, where I take out a bunch of gunners. This was a struggle and a half. I'm going through stim packs and healing like they're candy. But once I do that, I don't even give the Courser a chance to talk, and I'm going to show you the whole Courser fight, just to show how overpowered this sword is. That, and I knock his laser pistol out of his hand, so it's pretty simple. He even goes invisible, and that is no match for the Dragonborn. So once I take him out, I steal his brain, then exit out to the roof of Green Tech Genetics, and go to a nice, lovely view of Diamond City. So I take the Courser chip back to Dr. Amari in the memory den, and she points me in the direction of the railroad and the Freedom Trail. The Freedom Trail led me to this super mutant right here, so that was a great time. But I finally make my way to the railroad, get interrogated by Desdemona as soon as I get there, but then explain to her what's going on with the chip and ask her if she can help me get the code off of it. So we send it on over to Tinker Tom. He gets the code for us in exchange for letting them keep the chip. I go back to the Glowing Sea and let Virgil know what's going on, and he tells me that I'm going to need help building the transporter. So I go back to Max and let him know what's going on. I need more equipment to build it. On the way to Listening Post Bravo, I run into Pyro and end up taking him out, and then grabbing the military grade circuit board. Whenever I fast traveled to Diamond City, I was ambushed by the Enclave Hellfire guy, and that didn't end up too well. But I make it to the hospital, grab the biometric scanner off of this Mr. Handy right here, go back to the Boston airport, get everything built after spending what didn't even feel like it was probably like 45 minutes trying to figure out how to build that thing properly. Then I let Maxon know that I am ready to go to the Institute. I then hop on the teleporter and teleport to the Institute, where I meet the director of the Institute, Father, who is actually my son, Sean. I convince him that I'm here to help the Institute, and he tells me to go around and meet all the division leaders of the Institute. I go talk to Dr. Lee and pass a speech check to convince her to return to the Brotherhood of Steel, collect their network data from the holotape, and then go back to Proctor Tegan. Shows me that we have Liberty Prime, who is just like a chair at IKEA, and needs put back together. Then I get the distress pulse from Scribe Hanlon, and make my way into the Glowing Sea to the bomb factory. Right here, plant the distress pulse, and then head back to the airport and power up Liberty Prime. Just take all this in for a moment. Listen to his anti-commie propaganda. I then talk to Elder Maxon, who tells me that Dance is actually a synth and it needs to be killed. I go convince Dance that life is worth living even if he is a robot. I then pass a speech check to Elder Maxon that allows both Dance to live and me to remain in the Brotherhood of Steel. I then go back to the Pridwin and report to Lancer Captain Kells, who informs me that the railroad might be a problem as far as it goes to taking out the Institute. So I go to their HQ, think I have Desdemona where I want her, but I don't. Second time through, I take out Desdemona, and then move on to my boy Deacon after I hit this stim pack real quick. And Deacon just does not stand a chance. 2 shots, take his clothes too, because, you know, put the holotape in Pam's terminal so the Brotherhood can steal her. And then we hop on a vertibird to Mass Fusion, where I go to the reactor and steal the beryllium agitator and barely make it out with my life. Did that quite a few times. Was not fun. And then this is the hardest part of the run right here, was taking on the legendary Sentry Bot, 2 Assaultrons, and I believe 2 Protectrons. Very, very difficult. I died a lot, but finally take out the Protectron Watcher, and we were able to leave Mass Fusion building. I then put the big old beryllium agitator battery into Liberty Prime's back. He gets all angry and destroys this lovely stand that the Brotherhood had made for him, and then makes his way to the CIT ruins, also performing his greatest Peyton Manning impressions along the way, as you can see. And then he absolutely picks up the super mutant behemoth and flings him around like a rag doll. I've never seen that before. That was awesome. Then he lasers the ground real quick, and then he throws another Hail Mary pass right down into the ground there to create us a hole to get into the Institute. And I go charging right on in. I also don't even talk to Father while I'm in here. I go straight to the reactor, plant the pulse charge, and then get teleported right back to the entrance after we plant it. I also talk to my synth son, and he goes back with me. And then we get teleported back to the Mass Fusion building, I believe, and we detonate the pulse charge, proving that you can beat Fallout 4 as the Dragonborn. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please leave a like, subscribe, and a comment of any challenge runs that you would like me to do in almost any Elder Scrolls Bethesda game, or any game in general. Just leave a comment. Thanks.